Marketing. Where the hell was it? Just had it up. To Kevin. Hold on. Incent. It's called Wing It Podcast, virtual edition ×2. Who do we have?
Robin Kroll.
Chris O'Neill.
Jen Pugsley.
Michael Turksani. All right, this is number 2, same day, but different track. We're going to talk insurance, digital marketing. We're going to talk about it during COVID-19. We've got a number of really interesting topics and tools that are rolling out, some of which have already rolled out. So we wanted to kind of keep on the podcast train. So getting right into this, insurance is an essential service. So, I think part of what we want to talk about, a few things over the next couple of weeks is, where does that leave marketing? What are you actually, where does that leave your growth initiatives, your marketing initiatives, and in the traditional sense that you would be thinking about them? How does the industry balance, really critical communications, because there's a ton coming down the pipe, and really kind of adjusting to a work from home and a more distributed environment. So Robin put together a nice post that started the process off. So I think we should start with that, Robin, in terms of some of the starting for 10 that everybody should be doing, assuming you have the capabilities to sort of do that. So why don't we talk about just step 1, customer communications, but assuming that physical distancing is going to be in place for another, say, 8 to 12 weeks. Let's think of this not just kind of the last couple of weeks, but what do we need to be thinking about talking to our customers over the next 8 weeks? We'll start with you, Robin.
Sure. So, what we've seen from our insurance customers, first off the bat was to, get their team set up to be able to work from home. That was obviously critical, and to be able to reach out to their customers. These are things that they were, our customers were able to pivot on pretty quickly, and getting out some critical information. So when this started 2 weeks ago, there was a little bit of people working from home, some offices were open, now everybody's working from home. So getting that information out to policyholders and saying, hey, we're still up and running, we're in our new work from home environment, reassuring customers, but also providing critical information such as how to reach out to producers, to CSRs, email, phone numbers, making sure that was available, and also getting some critical information out to them about things along the lines of payments or renewals, and just either if there were new processes or reassuring them that existing processes were still in place. And that was really important to get that information out right away. Mm-hmm. And being able to leverage the customer data, the BMS data, as well as the customer lists, so that the insurers could send out personalized messages, email messages that would actually get into their customers' inboxes. So that was really important. And then getting some critical information up on their website. Even when you send out an email, very often your customer is going to go right to your website, especially if you have a good website. It's an experience. They know that's where they can find information. So having that same information available to them on the website. So that was really critical. And we saw a lot of people doing great jobs of this over the last week or so.
Jen, what have you seen in your area?
Yeah, a lot of the same type of stuff. I think that a lot of our customers have kind of mentioned that they actually did get a lot of walk-in traffic, and maybe they didn't realize it before they had to kind of close their doors to walk-in traffic. So I think that's been interesting. Some brokers more than others. And then I think, there's a lot of information going around about COVID and how does that affect certain things. And I think obviously certain businesses that you deal with are more obvious, whereas insurance, I think like this is just another like wrench in the not understanding insurance aspect for customers, right? So, you know, we deal with insurance every day, and our customers deal with insurance every day, and I think it's easy to kind of forget that these customers don't really know anything about their policy, right? So the surge in communications around what does this mean? What does that mean? Do I have coverage? Can I drop coverage? You know, can I delay my payment? All of those kinds of things, I think, are just kind of triple than what they normally are.
Than they otherwise normally would, because they would rely on, you know, walk-in or phone or other mechanisms that are probably also overwhelmed. Well, I mean, I think what we do, I'll let you talk a little bit about this, Chris. We've seen kind of a settling into this effect now, and we're going to be in this state for a period of time, which means, you know, those initial waves that Robin and Jen are talking about, it's only going to continue. So what are we seeing kind of from some of our prospects and even some of the clients that have really had to expand their programs with us in order to battle this?
Right. So from the standpoint of the insurance generally, I mean, it's been sort of referred to as kind of like a you know, late to the table in terms of digital. Those that have kind of come on board and started using some of the more sophisticated and sort of state-of-the-art marketing tools are you know, further sort of investing there. They're basically looking at it going, okay, well, this is basically giving us an opportunity to really showcase how we can look after our customers, how we look after and you know, take care of our insure markets as well. And this is what we're able to do. So from our standpoint, what we're seeing is organizations that we have been speaking with over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, you know, recalling that we had sort of talked about some things and sort of coming back and furthering those conversations. So in other words, recognizing that, you know, hey, we do need to have consistent and standardized type of communication with both our with all of our constituents, whether they be our customers, whether they be our partners, so that we can, you know, get the message out really loud and clear about our brand, about what it is that we stand for, how it is that we're navigating this thing, and recognizing that that's not something that's going to go away next week or the week after. You know, this is obviously something that we're, you know, we're going to be dealing with for quite some time, and recognizing that, you know, being able to move with alacrity on getting messaging out to customers is going to be even more so important, you know, in the coming months, in the coming quarters.
So I think it's I think we should spend next little bit here talking about the balancing act, you know, the email balancing act that probably is more of an issue in this market than in other markets. You know, critical customer comms is always, as we talked about on the last podcast, you know, the marketing automation platforms that you use for your top of funnel and middle of funnel and driving demand and driving leads and being able to measure all that progression is the same platform that you can actually use to communicate with your customers. And that's often how these more sophisticated tools, to your point, Chris, are really positioned in the market to be that customer life cycle of communications. It doesn't just end with the sale, that continues, and that same system that's providing all that measurement and all that support up front is actually heavily used in the back end. And that's how we go about our programs, is making sure that they're making a smart investment, that one that is organization wide and is capable of leveraging two sides of that coin. And there are a lot of organizations, not so much maybe in insurance that we've seen, but that have pigeonholed the marketing automation platform only in lead generation. And those organizations are actually playing a bit of catch up to deploy the right type of data and lists and all that kind of stuff into those systems in order to reach their customers. So I think having that has been in a good place. But let's talk about, you know, the balancing act. And maybe I'll flip it to you, Jen, first, and then Robin, you can get in on it. But we don't want to go dark on our customers, which has been kind of a theme in many industries. We don't want to stop communicating. Insurance, for sure, we need to have the right types of communications and those accurate communications, as you referred to, Chris. But we've also got to have other brand-oriented communications and just things that are important for the customer to know about our business and who we are. So how do we balance that is really what we want to start talking about. Is there's going to be reams of communications that are critical, that need to go out, but then what do we think about our other channels and email too, in terms of ensuring that at the right time, the right order in which information is being provided, as well as other warm and fuzzy stuff that your customers would likely be happy to learn about, given the fact that social media usage has exploded and they have nothing but time on their hands right now. Jen, why don't you go?
I think if we're going to direct this at brokers for a second, I think versus some of the other carriers and such, but for brokers, I think it's really interesting because there's a real opportunity here to follow with what brokers do best, and that's helping people. That's helping. It's offering coverage. It's offering information. Insurance isn't going anywhere. So regardless of COVID-19, I mean, there's obviously a commercial aspect there with businesses, but even in personal lines, like you still obviously need coverage on your home and your auto, or you can maybe downgrade. But I think it's interesting to see our clients. Last week was all about COVID communications and let's rush to get this stuff out, and how we're still operational and working remote. And now this week has been more like, okay, how can we actually help our clients with information? We've seen some of our brokers actually wrap it around really nice kind of incentives, tying in gift cards and things that kind of brighten your day under all of this kind of doom and gloom. And I think that's really nice because everybody's kind of like, let's give me something like something to look forward to, right? So I thought that was that's really nice and interesting. And I think like there's still new business opportunities. Robin can kind of talk about this because she's been helping some of our clients on it, but there's a whole world of cyber insurance that has ticked up a need for cyber coverage with all of this kind of remote and people taking their business operations online. So there's a whole piece there. And I think it's just what we're seeing is our brokers it's not about being opportunistic. It's about really helping the public and their customers during this time. So
well, I mean, I think I'll let Robin kind of go on the product side and maybe some of the new business side, but I like what you said, Jen, about, being in the community. And we know that many of these brokers, whether they're part of a network under a brand, or they're just in their local community kind of as their own brand, they are in the community. I mean, that's a big part of how they network and go talk to people. So I think it is about furthering that broker message of being helpful in different ways and being creative on how to use digital in that regard. Robin, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that you're seeing on kind of the products that might be important, as well as balancing that warm and fuzzy?
Sure. And just to say, I don't think insurance has been deemed an essential service just because of the policies that are in place, but it's because the value that insurers need to continue providing during the situation. And, Jen, to your point about cyber, so we've certainly seen a lot about that. People are working from home. People are working on devices that might not be as secure, as protected as what they're having at home. And sometimes there's confidential or critical information going around. So this is I hate to use the word opportunity because it's not opportunistic, but this is where brokers can add so much value, and insurers as well, is coming in and explaining how this additional cyber coverage is critical for businesses to be able to work in this new work from home environment. And those type of messages and the ones that we've been helping our customers with, they have been sensitive to the situation. So the worst thing you want to do right now is be tone deaf. So obviously,
Yeah.
travel insurance is not what we're seeing on the market right now. We shouldn't be seeing that, but it is things about cyber. Maybe there are things about home policies concerning the fact that everybody is at home. Maybe there's some changes to automobile policies. Commercial coverage for businesses that are closed. These are all ways that insurers can help educate with their value and their advice, and help both existing customers and prospective customers be secure as we move forward in this environment.
Well, and I think too, to that point, Robin, like I've had a couple of our customers say to us, there are, have said to us things like, thank you for being there for us and giving us some breaks, around some platform stuff during this hard time. Like a lot of people aren't with you they're with you in the good times, but not with you in the bad times. And I think brokers and insurance providers can do the same thing. And I think people won't forget that as things move on, right? This industry is so price driven, but I think there's lots of opportunity through help that people won't forget, that customers won't forget that moving forward. So
interesting. Yeah, I think that those are good, a good, part of the technical must-haves, and some of the balancing, the warm and fuzzy messages that you might see out there. I mean, we're seeing some really great brokers and insurers put out helpful ways to, organize a schedule at home, and just other content that, is helpful in the current situation that we're all in, but reinforcing that brand message, as you mentioned earlier, Robin. But what you don't want to do, and I think that order of operation concept is, if you haven't already addressed payment, or you haven't already addressed people that are up for renewal at the moment, and then you go out with an email that says, hey, here's a great way to put a schedule together for your kids, that could annoy people, right? So I think that goes back, and maybe I'll turn it to you, Chris, to talk a little bit about the platform, some of these use cases that we've seen, and just the sophistication, but being able to get messaging out to blocks of customers and suppress other ones, so that you're able to do the right order of communications while not completely missing an opportunity to connect with your customers in a warm and fuzzy.
But one of the things that's obviously changed, Mike, is the fact that so many of our customers and people that we speak with in the brokerage business talk about how important sort of word of mouth is. And we know what word of mouth means, which is that you belong to these communities, these groups, community groups within your geographic area, where there are regular and close quarter type of meetings, like on a regular basis. That's not there anymore. So being able to pivot onto into an ability to send personalized type messages, not just the old school email blasting kind of messages that says the same thing to everyone, but to be able to send personalized type messages. And for that, you need to have you need the ability to do that, which means either writing a whole bunch of individual email messages out, which is impractical and basically impossible, or you need to take a look at sophisticated, more marketing leading type platforms that have the ability to streamline that messaging, make that messaging very personalized, which of course we all know there's nobody's saying anything new here. Personalized messaging is the way to attract and maintain communication with, whether it's customers or whether it's prospective customers. And these are the kinds of these are the directions that people are needing to go in. We know that COVID is not going to be over next week. We know that it's something, and so again, that's why having been speaking with brokers, the markets, MGAs, all the different sort of constituents within the insurance marketplace over the course of the last basically 5-6 years, we now are hearing from some of those folks that are saying, well, listen, we want to talk about it because we now realize that this is not something that's going to go away anytime soon. So, again, having that ability to send that personalized message is something that's going to be really important. The question is, how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if we want to talk about any of the things that you're seeing, Jen or Robin, from the markets that we're looking at in terms of pivoting some of their, like, just big picture. I mean, we're seeing a lot of stuff come down from our customers that we support, as well as the industry more broadly. Maybe Jen, you could touch on that briefly, and then Robin, you can back up a little bit of that, and then we'll move over to just discussing the topics that we have rolling down the pipe over the next couple of weeks, as continuing to support the industry with some tooling and some content around this.
Yeah, so I think, again, on the market side, a surge of communications around same type of stuff, coverage, information. Those decisions are really coming down from the markets and then to the broker, and then the broker down to the customer. So same type of thing. But I think what we're seeing is that, and more on the market side, that there's going to be efficiencies that come out of this from a communication perspective. And with some of the larger carriers, we're already kind of in this mode, but efficiencies around communications, whereas things that seemed kind of, oh, we don't want to do that because there's a relationship there, whether it's with the market, with the sales or sales representative down to the broker, or with the broker down to their own customer. We're seeing, like, kind of what Chris was saying, is that now there's really no other choice, right? There isn't those on-site visits, there isn't those things. So yeah, sure, COVID's going to last for however many months here. So we're going to go into this new realm of efficiencies around communication. And then when we're out of this thing, it will be like, well, that was easy. We didn't realize actually how efficient sending a one-on-one email that looks like it's from Chris O'Neill, or a producer, or an RSM on the RSM side, on the market side. Let's continue on with this because, wow, what a time saver. Right?
Yeah, well, I think you hit on an interesting point there, Jen. I'll just cut in there, and then I'll have you either wrap up or point it over to Robin. But some of the friction, I don't want to call it friction, some of the reasons that we would get back, Chris, from some organizations to not do things. And even some customers where portions of the platform are adopted more heavily than others, where that one-on-one, that real going down and meeting with somebody, and I get 200-300 emails a day as a producer, and I got to kind of be managing that with all of my back office, and for sure there's a level of that's not going to change, but there's almost this the promise of being able to leverage marketing automation at scale to personalize messages and get it from the producer or the individual or the brand, or the broker or whoever the brand is as the more broad message, now can be done. Now we can actually implement those programs, because we have to implement those programs, because if you're a producer with a certain size book and you need, it's like you're not going to be able to go and meet those clients one-on-one. So having the ability to get messaging out in the timely, accurate way and see those results and pick up the phone and talk to the right people at the right time. I agree. I think that's really interesting. I think that'll help maybe the fence sitters that were kind of fighting it a bit, push them over the edge and say, this is not going to take you out of the picture, but it's going to make your life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and what we're seeing too on the tool adoption side is essentially that as well. So our brokers and markets that have either customer self-serve applications or quote and bind engines, that adoption message is also driven from a need, right? So
yeah. Robin, did you want to kick in on that?
Yeah, no, we had a really great conversation with one of our clients yesterday who had talking about a customer-facing tool, and what the client said, that this had been a project among other projects for several months. But now that there's this crisis, there's this absolute need, they've been able to fast track this out of necessity, and now we're going to be able to put together this tool that is going to serve, two main purposes. First of all, it's going to help their customers do things more quickly, which is really critical right now. And it's also going to add a lot of efficiencies for the broker, so that instead of spending time on the phone or now face-to-face with something that they don't need to be doing, they can have this customer-facing tool do that, and they can then spend their time on these really critical phone calls where it's absolutely necessary that they get involved. So, it's unfortunate sometimes it's a crisis that takes moving this forward, but this is something that is going to be able to benefit them and their customers.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to wrap it there just because we're at our limit, but we do have a number of content topics that we're working on. So we will be working hard to put stuff out there and try to make it relevant to what's going on at any given time. I thought this format's been pretty good so far, so we'll keep playing with the virtual podcast. And thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Peace.